swarm consists of mainly young bees. The bees in the deep floorboard are also added. As a rule, it is possible to form 15 to 20 mini-nuclei from the bees of one nursing colony. The attached bees are also brushed into the funnel. Finally, the drones which have gathered at the face of the drone excluder are removed. The hive body holding the shook swarm is now closed up and removed from the site. Before the bees are taken to a cool, dark place, to remain there for a few hours or overnight, they are wetted with a fine water spray. While the shook swarm is clustering in the dark, we have time to prepare the mini-nukes. The insulated Kirchheiner mini-nuke with its multicomb design has proven its worth for instrumental insemination, for use within the apiary or in local mating apiaries. Four top bars, each equipped with a starter strip of foundation, assist in the drawing of good comb. The food compartment is filled with goods candy made from icing sugar and honey. When all is ready, we spray water through a fine rose over the clustering bees. This prevents their flight and escape. The bees are scooped up with a ladle which has a capacity of about quarter of a litre. To facilitate work, it is best if two top bars are removed beforehand and laid aside before filling bees into the mating nuclei. With a jerk, the queen is flicked out of her cage to land on the bottom of the nucleus box. The moistened bees are ladled in at once, the two missing top bars are quickly returned, and the lid of the nucleus is placed on top. All work must proceed smoothly. One mini-nuke after the other is filled rapidly to accommodate all queens of the batch. The little colonies, now headed by virgin queens, can be compared, biologically speaking, with natural after-swarms, also called casts. In order to fuse the bees and queen into a unified colony, the entrance remains closed for 3 to 4 days. The mating nuclei are carried to a dark place which is not too cold. Temperatures in the shed or cellar should not be below 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. This encourages bees to draw waxen comb from the starter strips. During confinement, the nuclei should be adequately ventilated, and a small jet of water may have to be sprayed into the cavity occasionally. After the period of confinement, the mini-nukes are taken to the mating site and placed on a flat surface. The bees are released when all flying has stopped. When the queens are to be sent to offshore mating stations on islands, one comb mini-nuclei are used. After adding a frame with a starter strip, the box is closed with a pane of glass. The perforated metal strip should slide smoothly in its groove, and it is secured with a drawing pin. The closure disc over the entrance is also tested. The food chamber is filled with candy made from icing sugar and honey. To avoid drying, the candy is covered with greaseproof paper. The passage between food chamber and the bees must remain open so that many bees have access to the stores. A further lump of candy is attached to the side wall opposite the entrance before the bees are added. This will provide food for rapid engorgement by all bees. Just as has been described before, the standard mini-nukes are filled with the bees of a shook swarm. Each mini-nuke should receive about 1/4 of a litre of bees. Immediately after filling, the pane of glass is put into position and is secured with the clip fastener. One shook swarm, as formed from a nursing stock, will provide enough bees to fill 15 to 20 standard mini-nukes. The boxes are placed upright for the introduction of the virgin queen. The bees can now form a wax-drawing cluster. One edge of the nuke having been raised by a wooden lath, adequate ventilation is assured. The virgin queen is now wetted with lukewarm water. This slows down her movements among the bees in the nucleus. By opening the entrance disc, the queen is allowed to run into the interior. The breeder's record card contains all relevant information of the queen's pedigree. It is placed under the lid of the mini-nuke. Finally, we make sure that the queen is accepted by the bees. Having the right mixture and the right quantity of young bees is an important factor for success. The right mini-nuke contains too many bees. The central nucleus has too few. When forming a cluster, the bees should take up about half of the available space. In order to allow the bees to fuse and become a family unit, the standard mini-nukes, just as in the case of the Kirchhainer mating hive, must be taken to a cool room, or they are placed in a shaded, insulated shelter. If allowed to fly, the site of release must be far enough away from the original location. In order to prevent the queen's flight, the entrance disc is turned so that the small entrance hole allows workers only to fly from the nucleus. A first check is made after 3 days. This interval is necessary for bees to form a new colony. Bees which had been allowed to fly seem to be less stressed and are more quiet than any which had been kept in total confinement. When the bees have drawn good worker comb, we can accept this as a first sign of success. We send only the nuclei with a fair-sized piece of comb to the offshore mating stations. When flight has stopped, we remove the mini-nukes from their shelter, close the entrance disc, and put them carefully into the special crates for transport. Each consignment must be accompanied by a certificate of health and an address for the return journey. Furthermore, each standard nucleus must carry the name and address of its sender. A sticky label requests all personnel on trains and ships to handle the consignment with great care. A dispatch note giving precise details of port of destination and of the island mating station must be attached. Mating stations with guaranteed isolation can be found on all offshore islands along the North German coast. The sea forms a natural water barrier which prevents drones from flying in from the mainland. Many consignments from all over Germany are sent annually to the islands. Here, on the island of Langeoog, they are taken by horse and cart to the mating station amongst the dunes. A warden is in charge of each mating station. He collects the consignments at the station, checks certificates of health, looks after the mating nuclei on the island, and returns the consignment to its respective owner. The warden of the mating station waits until all flying has stopped for the day. He then checks each nuke once more that all is well, that no drones are present among the bees, and that ample food is left. He turns the entrance disc until the large opening permits flight, and lowers the mini-nuke into its special insulated shelter. He then makes sure that bees can pass through the passage and into the open. The drone parent colonies on the mating station have been selected according to severe criteria. One drone colony must be provided for every 25 to 50 virgin queens currently in the mating station. Special measures ensure the presence of strong, healthy drones. Nubile queens mate with about 8 to 12 drones when air temperatures are above 20 degrees Celsius. A few days later, they begin to lay eggs in the comb of the nucleus. The warden checks the small mating nukes weekly after all flying has stopped in the mating station. Colonies which show worker brood are collected for dispatch to their owners. In this mini-nuke we can see a patch of brood in all stages of development.